changed a little bit with him. A second thing was like, the geese were enormous. They were like dinosaurs, and a little frightening. And what he said, and I believed it when I finally got up close to them, is when they get to a certain, I think it was like 8 months or something, they fend off foxes and hyenas. They fight back, and they can kill them just with their wings. And I was a little skeptical, and then I saw them like, I mean, they're big, meaty, fierce animals, fierce. So then I started to think, wow, he's doing something right.
So then, as they're wandering around the farm, Dan witnessed something, and I didn't actually ask him about this in our interview, but he talked about this a few months right after he visited Spain in this speech that he gave at the TED conference, and I watched this online, and let me just play this for you.
So it's like, here I am, like on the fence about this guy, and we're sitting there, and I hear, like from a distance, I look over, and he grabs my arm and translates and ducks us under bushes. Watch this. There's a squadron of geese come over, and they're loud, getting louder, 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 like really loud, right over us. And like, as they start to go past us, his geese are calling up to the wild geese, and the wild geese are calling down. It's getting louder and louder, and they circle and circle, and they land. And I'm just like, no way. No way. And I look at Eduardo, who's near tears, looking at this. And I say, you're stay. Come to stay? Think about that for a minute. I mean, imagine a hog farm in like North Carolina, and a wild pig comes upon a factory farm and decides to stay. It's like the DNA of a goose is to fly south in the winter, right? I said that. I said, isn't that what they're put on this earth for? Fly south in the winter and north when it gets warm? I said, no. Their DNA is to find the conditions that are conducive to life, to happiness. They find it here. They stop, they mate with his domesticated geese, and his flock continues.
So, finally came the moment of truth when Dan tries the foie gras. To do that, Eduardo took Dan to lunch in this tiny town in this area. And as Dan describes it, it's like a town from an old western. There's literally tumbleweeds rolling down the street, and there's a candy store and a post office and a bar, and the bar is where they go for lunch, and they are the only two customers in the bar. And the foie gras comes in this tiny little jar. It's cold, and he spoons it out with a little spoon. And then I tasted it, and it's like, what I remember thinking is like, it really was the first time I ever had foie gras. That's what it felt to me, because it was, to say that it was the best foie gras of my life would be to cheapen it, because it was so dramatically different. It gave me the shivers. I mean, it was really weird. I was as if I was being introduced to a new food. Not just a new food, but an incredible new food. And Dan's a chef, right? So he's trying to figure out it's spicy and it's fruity, and he's asking Eduardo, do you put this ingredient in, do you put that ingredient in? And I went through a list of these spices and stuff, and he's like, no, he kept shaking his hand. I was like, definitely tasted some pepper spice. So, and then he was just like, no to pepper. I was like, no to pepper. I was that, no, who doesn't put salt and pepper? So I was like, okay, so you have your foie gras. I was like, so you have your foie gras, and you take salt, and you go like this, no salt. Like, you don't use salt. It's like, no. So it turns out, like, all of the essences that I was tasting, all the spice, everything that I was tasting, were things that the geese were eating in Extremadura. Not those particular spices, but different grasses that had those kinds of flavors. Because he gave them access to, according to him, mustard grasses that I was tasting as pepper and spices. He had grasses that had a salinity to them. So this was the saltiness, made for the saltiness. And so, yeah, right, wow. What Dan was saying was this guy, Eduardo, who was like a cook out in the field with the birds, preparing their flavor as he raised them. Notice he raised them, all he was doing was letting them eat whatever they want. And seeing this changed Dan's cooking. So much of what he serves now in his